Rolling audio 2. You want to do the clap?
Let's make a clap.
Let's make a clap.
Are you missing a
We want one clap.
Okay,
We don't want to...
1, 2. Oh my god.
You're probably wondering why we've asked you here today.
Me?
You, dear listener. We've asked you here today to find out what places in Poland you've been to, what places you recommend for us to go to. And we're going to start off talking about some of the places, not necessarily that we've been to, but that we've been given, we've been told about, and we've definitely written down our bucket list of things to do in Gdańsk and Poland. This is Gdzień Gdobry Gdańsk.
The cheekiest cultural podcast Gdańsk didn't ask for.
But
Might secretly enjoy. All right, so this is episode 4, bucket lists. These are things that people would absolutely love to see here.
We interrupt our regularly scheduled program to bring you an important episode of Mannix on the Streets for your viewing pleasure.
Gdzień Gdobry Gdańsk. This is Mannix on the Streets, and we're here today in Mural, Garnizon, next to Brześć, Strzyża.
Perfect.
Well, we're actually doing Mannix off the streets, Mannix in Mural.
I guess we could call this episode of Mannix on the Streets Mannix off the wall. Mull that one over. Title in progress. When you ask anyone what's on their bucket list, Poland doesn't usually top the list. Do people in Poland know what a bucket list is? What is their bucket list item? And then
Talk to some people who are here for mountain climbing and otherwise healthy and outdoor sports. Talk to them about bucket lists and, what makes Poland a cool destination. I'd like to start off by asking you, do you know what a bucket list is? What is a bucket list? What is a bucket list?
Yeah, it's like things that you have to do.
Bucket list. It's a kind of list that show us the place we want to visit before we die.
Oh, it's the list of things you want to do before you pass away.
What is the top thing on your bucket list?
My bucket list. I think that traveling to Asia, it's my favorite place. I think Thailand, Vietnam, and Bali. It's my favorite top 3.
Oh, I would love to visit Brazil. I think this is my dream. It has been a dream for a long time.
Okay, they sound kind of hot.
Yeah, I like sunny place. I think it's very interesting because of culture that is different than in Europe. The cuisine is also very nice, and people.
Well, I would like to visit the Amazonian forest.
Yes.
For the nature. So I think, and see the Amazon River. That's the top. I started to learn Portuguese language. So this is my bucket list to visit Brazil.
If I would have to pick one place, I guess that would be Svalbard, maybe? Or the northern parts of Norwegia.
Do you think people around the world would include Poland or somewhere in Poland on their bucket list?
Yeah, of course.
I think yes.
I think it's changing a lot. I actually met a lot of people from all around the world coming to Poland, even to live in Poland, even speaking Polish pretty fluently. And
Wow. What areas in Poland do you think should be on a bucket list?
We have a lot of beautiful places. The city in the north, like Gdańsk, Sopot, or Gdynia, but also very interesting place in the south, like Kraków or Zakopane. Area called Mazury. There is a lot of lake and beautiful nature. And Kaszuby, near the Gdańsk. There are also a lot of beautiful nature, lake and wooden.
There is a place that not many foreign people know about, but it's really beautiful. And it's Mazury region. It's at the east part of Poland. There's a lot of lakes and a lot of little cities between them. So if you're a sailor, you can sail between those cities. There's a lot of things you can do there, including water sports, hiking, just being in the nature. And there's also a really interesting part of history in that place. So I think that's the bucket list. And it's really close to Warsaw. So if you're flying to Warsaw as a foreign tourist, you can just easily get there.
I think Tatra Mountains, they are extremely overhyped in Poland. They are extremely beautiful and not everyone knows.
Is there somewhere from Gdańsk, perhaps, that you think is worth being on their bucket list?
I guess everybody would say the old town.
The whole city is amazing. The history and like the shipyard, the old shipyard, I think it's as beautiful as like the most known beautiful cities in the world.
I live in Gdańsk, and I think it's the most beautiful place in Poland. So I highly recommend this one.
In Gdańsk, there is like a little district near to the sea called Gdzień. And this is like a little area next to the beach. You can get there like easily by a tram. And there's like a beach, a park, some place where you can get some food, get a coffee, go to the drinks. I think this is a local place. And this is the bucket list because it's like a top of the top.
Can I ask, is there somewhere in Poland that you haven't been to, but that you really want to go to?
I think that I should visit the south, but it's called Śląsk. It's the area I didn't visit yet. And I know it's highly recommended by other people.
Because I see you're a climber. Is there any specific climbing place in the world that you would put on your bucket list?
Oh, there's like a lot of types of climbing, and I'm a boulderer, so I climb like without a rope. I would love to visit Fontainebleau. It's in France, near to Paris. It's like I think the most famous place in Europe for boulderers. So I would like to get there. It's like a pilgrimage.
I think that's pretty much it for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, too.
That was Mannix on the Streets. We now resume our regularly scheduled program.
As you know about me, dear listener, from watching earlier episodes, or dear new listener from not yet, I fell in love with Poland because I literally walked into the market square in Wrocław about 5:45 in the morning as the sun was rising one August morning, and it just felt magical. It felt like something from a fairy tale. It felt like something from really another world, and I thought, this is something that deserves exploring. So even though many bucket lists that you may find on the internet say things like, you need to explore the market square in this city, or you need to explore the market square in that city, not necessarily exploring a market square is going to do it for you, but simply the beauty of the architecture. There's a certain old world feeling to a lot of the old towns, because they are literally old towns, even though for the most part they've been reconstructed after the Second World War.
Yeah, it's almost like fairy tale-esque. Towns that you see in Disney stories and things like that. The cobblestone streets, the people enjoying their time walking around, sitting in cafes outside in al fresco, as they call it. So it's kind of a nostalgia. Nice.
I would go so far as to say it gives you a feeling of nostalgia for a place you've never been to. Upon first visiting such a place, you get a feeling of, this is what it must have been like. This is what it should have been like. This is what my previous non-Polish world could have been like if it had actually held on to a lot more tradition and a lot more, I suppose, sort of elements of culture that slowly get knocked out of the way as we bolt forwards into a mercantile 21st century.
Yeah. It's completely life-changing here. It makes you slam on the brakes of life and slows you down, puts you in the moment, and allows you to really appreciate what the good life is.
I can quite clearly remember things for, how to know when you've achieved in life and you have a good job and a nice car and a house. And the reality is, how do you know when you've achieved in life? When you have time to spend with your family, time to spend on your passion projects, time to actually appreciate the other things in life. Life in Poland can give you that.
Yeah.
So, as you know, we're Gdzień Gdobry Gdańsk. We're based in Gdańsk, and Gdańsk is essentially the birthplace of the Solidarity movement. And Solidarity essentially was a workers' union that set out to get better working conditions and better living conditions, and essentially became a political movement that was more than just a little bit instrumental in dismantling the former Eastern European states that had been satellite states under the Soviet Union. And I would say that to a lesser or greater extent, one of the most important things that you could visit here in Gdańsk is the Solidarity Museum. It's actually the European Centre for Solidarity, which is located close to the old shipyard. And it's right beside the monument of the Three Crosses, the Three Crosses representing 3 victims who were shot during protests against the, at the time, Soviet-supported government. So the Three Crosses themselves are quite impressive, standing at a height of, insert height here. And the museum is massive looking, it's specific, the museum specifically looks like a ship, a rusting ship, and it contains a wealth of information, not only on solidarity within Poland, solidarity within Europe, but also life and reasons for improving it as it was at the time of the solidarity movement.
So what year did that kick off?
Well, essentially, Solidarity was founded in 1980 by shipyard workers, most famous among them, of course, I think internationally, being Lech Wałęsa, who later became president of Poland. I would say, essentially, Solidarity, the movement, is something that is celebrated throughout Poland, but particularly so in Gdańsk and the three-city area, since this was where it originated from. Definitely a place on my bucket list is to visit Westerplatte, which is an island peninsula on the opposite side of the Motława River from the main city of Gdańsk, and that's actually the place where the Second World War began. So it has a monument to the defenders of Westerplatte, who held out against German shelling for a long time. It's generally accepted as the place where the Second World War broke out. But it gave the Polish army and the defense of the country a huge amount of both pride and, I suppose, impetus to stand firm and defend Poland against the aggressors. So it's a very interesting monument, definitely spectacular views and well worth seeing, well worth going. The second thing is you can get to Westerplatte by traveling on a regular city bus, which takes quite a long time to go around, cross over the river further down and then come back up onto Westerplatte. You can also travel there by pirate ship. There are 2 ships which sail almost every day during the season. Again, you have sea shanty music and a cruise across the river and out to the opening of Gdańsk Bay before crossing over to Westerplatte. So a nice overall picnicking type of lazy day traveling around in boats.
Very nice.
Yeah.
One of the top suggestions that I have is visiting a salt mine outside of Krakow called Wieliczka, hundreds of meters under the surface. You travel through these tunnels it opens up and you start walking through all these different chambers, and you're looking down into pools of water, and you're looking around, and it's a giant cave of salt. And that's not the pinnacle of the tour. When you're getting towards the end of the tour, you find yourself in a massive hand-carved cathedral that is fully carved out of the salt. And when I say cathedral, I mean tall vaulted ceilings. The walls are carved with the 14 stations of the cross. There's an altar with the Last Supper carved into the wall. I mean, it's all hand carved. Not exactly sure how long it took to carve it out, but it's definitely a sight to see.
There's also a restaurant where you can have something to eat at the end of your tour. I think 47 meters under the ground. For me, the coolest story for me about Gliwice is the first time in my life that I had Polish bigos was in the restaurant in Gliwice, salt mines, 147 meters under the earth. Maybe we were there on the same day.
Maybe.
One other place to visit is, not least, the Mariacka Cathedral. Although technically it's a church, everybody refers to it as the Mariacka Cathedral. It is the largest of the churches in Gdańsk. It is, in fact, the third largest brick cathedral in Europe. You can see a myriad of beautiful art inside. There are also astrolabes and clocks and other astronomical time measuring devices. You can pay a little bit to be allowed to go up into the tower and climb all the way to the top and come out on the roof where you have spectacular views of the city. It's quite a serious climb through narrow stairs, so maybe not for the faint-hearted. Yeah, definitely worthwhile. Definitely a great thing to do. One other place to visit is the Napoleon Fort in Gdańsk on a little hill. It's called Góra Gradowa. So Napoleon basically set up camp in northwest Poland, stretching from Poznan across to Gdańsk, in preparation for invading Russia. Now, one thing, as most people have learned generally to their own cost, is that you do not invade Russia and expect to succeed during a Russian winter. And Napoleon tried and failed. So there is a free to visit museum of small huts dotted along that hill. In each hut, there is a scene behind glass from various points in history, or various points in the history of Gdańsk, stretching all the way back from the 18th century, 1700s, right up until even broadcasts made by Radio Free Europe during the Cold War. Yeah, that's it for sort of some quick and free things to do. What else do you have on your Poland bucket list?
Poland bucket list overall, I would say another hot item is the Marburg Castle.
So Marburg Castle basically looks like this, and it contains the following data.
It's the largest castle by land area in Europe, and it's a medieval castle that feels surreal. You're walking through the chambers and the corridors, and there's even a medieval cabbage.
The medieval cabbage is definitely a cabbage worth exploring.
But we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. There's also a museum of amber inside Marburg Castle. It's also quite amazing.
So just to make sure to check their website for any closures or anything, because the day that we went, there were certain areas that were restricted for the public.
Marburg is about 40 minutes from Gdańsk.
Pretty quick train ride.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick train ride. It's about 40 minutes, and you really kind of want to plan a full day for it or at least late morning to make the most of your day visiting and getting back.
Yeah, backpack full of food, drinks, plenty of lawns to have a nice picnic.
Yep. Okay. Did you go to the same Mountport?
I did.
Yep.
Yeah. What? There's no lawns that you saw?
Yes, we could have a picnic. Chris is
On the outside.
didn't really spend much time with us. Just get in and move around.
Yeah.
And do stuff. Why have other nations of the world decided to generally use Poland as their football pitch when they want to play a game called Let's Go to War? And the main reason for that is that Poland consisted of mountains in the south, rolling all the way down into huge fertile plains, and those plains rolled all the way to the sea, that is the Baltic Sea. And across a lot of those plains, at one point in the past, we had huge glaciers carrying a huge amount of moraine and excellent soil down into the plains of Poland, resulting in the fact that we have an area in Poland called Mazuria, which is to the east of Gdańsk, about 90 minutes, 2 hours east of Gdańsk, and filled with lakes. And in fact, it's known as the land of 1,000 lakes.
They counted?
They count. They also brought in an independent count to count independently. And the land of 1,000 lakes. I've been to the Missouri lakes. I would say it's pretty special. Some of the lakes you can take a speedboat on, that is motor, but a lot of them you can't.
And all the lakes are connected? Or can you travel through, make a whole week out of it?
Oh, I'm sure you could probably make 2 weeks out of it, traveling from one lake to another. They're joined by their own natural rivers, and also there are canals joining them together. But there is a huge area of water where you could easily spend 2 weeks on a boat if you were looking for a boating holiday in absolutely beautiful landscapes.
And they're freshwater lakes, yeah?
For the most part, they're freshwater lakes. I believe there are some that are slightly brackish, but for the most part, they are freshwater lakes. The largest of the lakes in Poland is also in this area. It's called Śniardwy, and it's quite common for kids in school to have to learn the name of the longest river, the name of the highest mountain, and the name of the largest lake. So I've learned the name of the longest river, the name of the highest mountain, and the name of the largest lake. I just don't quite remember the size of that lake.
It's big. It's big. Can I ask you a random question? How's the fishing?
Actually, today I don't think you can.
Okay.
I don't actually. Okay, so how's the fishing? I'm not a fisher. I don't actually know myself or to be able to explain to any of my colleagues who might be interested in fishing. It's not something that I have the data on, but I know a man who does.
Carlos data.
Carlos data.
Where's it data?
Data.
Data? Data.
Monsieur. Mana. Da. I sort of have one other place to talk about, but there's a shopping center in Warsaw. It's huge. It's so huge that before I'd ever been to Warsaw, I knew about the shopping center. In fact, before I'd even come to Poland, or before I'd even moved to Poland, I knew about the shopping centre, and I knew that this shopping centre was on a bucket list for a lot of people. Basically because of how large it was, how many shops, and how wide a variety of different things it could offer. And okay, I have to say the shopping centre is called Arcadia, and it's in Warsaw. To be perfectly honest, my style of life is not that I really would have a shopping centre myself on a bucket list, because in my opinion, if you see one shopping centre, you've seen them all.
Carlo is no longer in service. Please try again later.
Thank you for that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, on one side of me, I'm so glad. And on the other side of me, I'm like, damn it, didn't get... Okay.
What happened?
If you've seen one shopping centre, you've seen a mall.
Jeez. Okay, I feel so... You got me on that one. You got me.
Yeah. So...
I think we need to add a segment called Maddox's dad joke of the day. That's your one. And only. Okay, 2. Because that was a good one. Cheers.
I worked hard on that one. I really worked hard on that one, dude.
We even did a lead up, everything. I'm like, why would a shopping mall be on a bucket list? Now I know why.
But literally, it was... Okay, so the genuine truth is that place was on a bucket list. That was actually... There was... I remember 2007 or 2008, there was a Facebook game. Yeah. How much do you know about Poland? And you advanced to different stages, and at one point your stage of advancement was so far advanced that you'd achieved unlocked Arcadia shopping centre in Warsaw. I love the fact that you're looking at me going, you've glitched. And I'm going, nope, it's not me. Thank you.
It's not me. It's not me who's glitched, it's you. Yeah.
So.
Dang it.
Dang it.
So, I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, you just said that.
No, I really want you to know I'm getting hungry.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I could probably grab a bite to eat too.
Yeah.
But now the question is,
what? Next episode. Super excited for this. I think this is the whole reason why I started this podcast. We get to review some food places.
I'm kind of feeling sad.
Yeah?
Yeah, we're going to review some amazing food places. You guys are going to get to see us sitting and eating our way through some of the most amazing food in Europe. And then I get the feeling that, we'll have spoiled you so much with that, where do we go from there?
Yeah, I think we climaxed.
Put your hands where I can see them.
I think after episode 5, I think that would be the end of our season. We'd have to, what bar can we achieve after that?
Bars.
An Irishman and a Mexican walk into a bar.
And the Irishman doesn't even drink alcohol. Guys, we've got so much lined up for you. Stick with us. Enjoy the show. Peace and love. What is that? go grab something to eat.
Yeah, let's go.